Hey Evan, is it going?
Let me check.
Ah, it is now.
Are you good?
I think so. Yeah, I think we're on.
Yep.
Okay, typical. I always do it the same way. Okay, look, this is just a quick one. It's an article we've put up in response to something Duncan Rhodes sent us from Nexus. He sent us an article which he shocked him, and he's made it. He's actually said it's done his head in, and he said we both must have missed these lessons in the classroom. It was the most amazing information, archaeological information given by Griffith University in conjunction with the Australian Museum in Sydney. So it must be good. It's got all the right ticks. And what they've primarily announced is that over 500,000 years ago, Neanderthals were in Australia. It was bizarre. It's bizarre for a lot of reasons. Number one, it's about boomerangs and the way they've been used and the fact they've been used to cut into stone tools. And they did extensive research, and I think they worked with a South African university also in Cape Town, and they found that Neanderthals were in Australia 500,000 years ago, scratching around with boomerangs. End of story. And then they went into great detail to explain how the scratches had taken place and how boomerangs used in other ways. Not once did they refer to the fact that even, and this is in the article that Duncan sent me, the gentleman who reported on this, and both Duncan and I were very sus about the report. We figured it must have been wrong, but Duncan looked it up. And actually we've attached what he found, which are the original reports from other sources at the end of this article, just to ensure people, when they look at this and think this just can't be right, it actually is. What's amazing is, in the same article, this gentleman who wrote this article supplies the mainstream narrative of Neanderthals, which we all know. And they said they came from Africa, they were in Africa, and they wandered out around 300,000 years ago and populated everywhere else. And no, apparently now they're in Australia 200,000 years before they left Africa, and they're already here. And here's what's weird. Of all the things, these Neanderthals, and of course way back we were told they were primitive and stupid, but that's not the truth. It's the opposite. We're the ones who are primitive and stupid. They had much bigger brains and had hot water service systems running through their villages. Don't worry, they were far smarter than we were. But what's bizarre about this, what I can't get my head around, is that they're now telling us Neanderthals were in Australia 200,000 years before they left Africa. Now, the other part is when they said this, they said, oh, Neanderthals were in Australia. You think, okay, fine, then you must have a Neanderthal bone in Australia to prove they were in Australia. Well, they don't. Now, it is interesting because of the fact, we've said this many times, at the first no forehead site that I went to, in situ, there was a skull buried alongside the no forehead head, and it was thick, twice as thick as the other one, completely different, and had a square knob at the back, which I noted was 1.5 centimetres by 1.5 centimetres, a perfect square knob, and I thought I'd never seen that before, never heard of it. It was only when the academic who gave us the residual bits of the second flathead no forehead skull told me about the fact, oh, I know what that is, and then got a book out and showed me. It's Neanderthal. But they didn't know that. This Neanderthal in situ hasn't got a boomerang with it, so there's no relationship between the two anyway. And that's the other part of this equation. You know why they said it had to be Neanderthal? Because they said 500,000 years ago, Homo sapiens weren't here. So we can't have them. So therefore it must be Neanderthal. But Neanderthals weren't there. But they put them in anyway because they had to put someone in. So they chucked in a group, not Homo sapiens, because they all know that they got here 60,000 years ago. That's written in the article. Even though Bowler's found a place that's twice as old in Victoria. They don't ignore all that. They just want to carry on what they've got. So they had to put someone in, so they rammed in Neanderthals. But our point is this. It's not just Neanderthals were here a long time ago. We've got the no forehead skulls. We've already mentioned them many times. And one doesn't have sutures and one does. So they're two separate groups within that group. Then we have the Neanderthal found at the first burial site, and at the second one we've got a skull which it turned out I thought was Denisovan, but both our experts assure us it's an archaic Homo sapien, the forerunner of Sapiens sapiens. And they're only ever found in Africa, but now they're found in Australia. So, when they say Neanderthals did it, well, they were lucky. Through bad science, they put Neanderthals in Australia, not through any good science, not through bones, not through anything, through assumptions that were faulty, but they got that right. Then you've got the Gracile original people and the robust original people. We've got to include them. Then you've got to include the no-forehead people, which we've just spoken about. Then you've got to throw in the archaic Homo sapiens. And then what you come up with, all up, is there's 7 or 8 different types of hominids running around Australia 50,000, 500,000 years ago. What's the difference? We don't know the starting date. That's all out. The point being, which one worked with the boomerangs? You've got a 1 in 8 chance it's Neanderthal. And it could be something else again. It could be any of the others. And secondly, why a boomerang? Which could return. They're saying some of these returned and some didn't. And my question is, 500,000 years ago, all sapiens, all hominids, according to every theory, were dumber than they are now. Now the boomerang, according to what we did know, was found at Wairie Swamp and dated around 10,000 years. Now they've moved it up by a factor of 50. Never made a comment about that. Rammed in a species that's not supposed to be anywhere but Africa for another 200,000 years. Never made a comment about that. And what they also didn't make a comment about is of all the stone implements and utensils and weapons, boomerangs are the most sophisticated. They are perfect flying machines. And I've got an article, I've put in a comment that I received, not related to this at all. Just someone wrote to me something about their experiences with boomerangs. It was a commercial airline pilot. And I've got his comment in there. He wants to remain anonymous. And it was interesting what he said. He could not believe how aerodynamically brilliant this particular implement is. So what they're telling us is 500,000 years ago, the very, very first tools, it wasn't flakes, it wasn't a spear point, or even, if you want to go up the list a bit, an arrowhead. No. The first thing they found were boomerangs. The most sophisticated and advanced of all the wooden tools came first, not last. And it's in a continent where no one was supposed to be here before 60,000 years ago, and no one has ever said any hominid on this planet, bar sapiens, were in Australia. Now out of the blue, all out the window, and what that now means is the whole theory of human evolution coming out of Africa, and that the Neanderthals come out of Africa, and the Denisovans, well, they were never in Africa, so that doesn't fit anyway. But you know what's interesting? They say Neanderthals, and we've all got Neanderthal in us. Well, actually, we don't. Africans don't have Neanderthals, and it's supposed to come out of there. Yet we've all mixed with them, and where they came from to begin with, alongside sapiens at the same time, they didn't mix. Well, that doesn't make sense anyway. And what doesn't even make more sense is you can put up an article saying 500,000 years ago Neanderthals were here and not make one comment about what that means in relation to all theories of human evolution, because none of them have that in there. And if Neanderthals are distant relations and come from our ancient ancestors, because they split and they came from that lineage, we now have that lineage in Australia. So where did humans begin? Now we have it in there because we found a skull which is now still sitting in the ground, and no one in Australia is allowed to go near it because it's banned. You're not allowed to go touch it. It's sitting there at the moment, and it is Neanderthal. They didn't know that. We did. They got the right answer through bad science and good luck. We've always had the right answer through good science, but bad rules, because we're not allowed. It should be, everyone should be looking at this skull and the no forehead skull, but we don't. But isn't it interesting when Griffith University, along with Australian Museum, put up really bad science that can't be proven? It gets published everywhere. Everyone reads about it. We've got the truth. We can't get it published anywhere. Welcome to Australia today. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the article. And just a quick reminder for those who haven't, our last online conference, and we're having a hold up with the next one with a sickness and a few other things, so it'll be on next month, but a bit further back. The last one's going to be for sale up until then, and we've got Freddie Silver there, Craig, Nick, ourselves, talking primarily about Uluru, and of course other things that go around there. More than a good value for what we're offering there. It's a great talk. We've got good people there, and people have said the talks were fantastic. Why not join us? It's still there, and I'll be there for a while before the next one comes up in about 4 or 5 weeks from now. In the meantime, we've got an article up called 500,000 Years Ago with 3 question marks. And one of the question marks relates to how they could get that date. The second one relates to how Neanderthals moved in. And the third one relates to how, in God's name, did an article like this get published and accredited? Oh, I know why. Because it came from the right sources. And in our case, we're not. Well, even though we aren't, we'll be back soon enough. Until next time.